All right. Yo, it's been a minute. Can you guys hear me? It's been a minute. Can you guys hear me? Ooh. Headphones aren't plugged in. I think that looks better. A little less dark. I'm going to be eating for a little bit on this stream. Because I haven't eaten today, so forgive me. I'm going to talk about today I actually don't really think that this is important in terms of addressing it. However, it just seems to be getting a lot of traction. So we're going to address it so long as I can actually find this. But we are going to wait for some people to get back in here. Comments. There we go. Here we go. Here we go. If you guys were at all curious as to what I'm eating, I'm eating brisket with rice and cheese. I've been filming a video like all day, trying to. We crossed 1,000 subscribers. Now I feel like I owe you guys more content. So I'm going to continue trying to create more frequent content. I saw a dude, he was talking about, his name is Steph is Cold. He's a YouTuber, like a red pill-ish kind of guy. He's actually from Milwaukee, funny enough, which is like the city that I'm from. He's talking about how to grow on YouTube. And his best advice was, make sure that you post every day. I can't post every day, not a full-on like YouTube video, but I've been trying to stream as frequently as possible. Obviously, I have, my in-person business too, which seems like it's on its way out because of this and my online coaching for POTS. You guys I'm only accepting 4 more from each tier. I have 2 different tiers, so 8 total. Yeah, so if you're interested, hit me up quickly if you want help getting better, if you feel like you need more guidance. So the thing that I want to talk about is this comment that I got on my video. It's not like a negative thing at all. I just kind of want to address it because I don't know if the message in the video really comes off well. So we're going to see. We're going to talk about it. And that is, The video was how I got pot syndrome. That is where we are addressing the comments from. So once we get people in the chat, we'll dive into it. W in the chat if you're present, because this thing doesn't always let me know. W in the chat when you're here. If you're in here. For now, while I'm waiting. The only downside to brisket is how much fat is on it sometimes. And chewing it, oh, it's difficult. I stopped my workout to come in here. That's not totally true. I was training, and I had taken my truck in for an oil change earlier. So I came back in here, or I stopped to go pick up my truck. And then came back out to do this. I came back in instead of going out and finishing my workout. It is hotter than ever living heck in this room. I guess while I'm waiting, I could like update a couple programs. Well, actually, I only have one program to update. All right, here we go. We're done. Knitter Gritter, dude, he's here. He didn't miss it. He didn't miss it. We had brisket, rice, cheese, honey, and salt. That's what was for lunch. All right. You came in just at the right time, dude. I finished my lunch, and now I'm going to address what this live is about. All right, cool. So a while back, actually almost exactly a year ago, 4 days from now will be 1 full year, I posted a video that was called How I Got POTS Syndrome. And the thumbnail is me in my gym, and it says, "Why should we care?" And so in the video, I pretty much talk about the fact that I don't think it's important to know how you got POTS syndrome for a multitude of reasons. I'm just going to regurgitate them here. But I want to read some of the comments because I want to address like the issue, right? The issue is, do you need to know how you got POTS syndrome? And so this person commented on the video, they go, "No, you do need to know where it came from, ... LOL, ... So I reply, "Really, why? And how do you suppose someone would go about finding that answer?" Well, when you go, this is them. "Well, when you go to a doctor and you're looking for answers or treatment, typically you try to create a timeline where the doctor can trace the origin of your illness. Does that make sense for most people? ? I would say so, unless you're naturally more inclined to seek other types of therapy and treatments other than a medical doctor. I like multidisciplinary medicine to create health and wellness." So I said, "So even the premise of your first answer sides with my answer. There's zero evidence to suggest that the course of treatment is dependent on the cause. If it is indeed POTS and not POTS-like symptoms due to something else such as hormone dysfunctions, etc." Yeah, that's it. And then somebody else commented, this is just crazy. So somebody else commented, I think actually this comment isn't crazy. It's just like the fact that we have to like go through all this. The comment goes, "I think the miscommunication here is that you are saying the trigger for your POTS is unknown, but the commenter is saying that knowing the type of POTS matters while using the word cause. If it's hyperandrogenergic, then treatment may be different for another subtype." Somebody else just posted too, 12 hours ago, I guess. "The cause would absolutely be important to possibly prevent others from also going through this. Also, POTS exploded across the population once the V came out. Whether the spike proteins from the V or the virus itself, I don't know. I do know up until then, POTS patients were 80% female, but does not seem to be the case anymore. The lack of interest to find the causes of debilitating health issues is that has exploded across the population is quite suspicious. Not from you personally. I thank you for trying to help people, but suspicious from the medical and pharmaceutical companies." Okay. Let's just address this entire thing. Is it important to know where your POTS syndrome came from for treatment, for the course of treatment that you will do for POTS? No. Absolutely, categorically, no. It's not important. There is zero data that suggests that knowing the origin of your POTS syndrome, so long as there's going to be a few caveats here, knowing the origin of where your POTS syndrome came from is not important, so long as you are not suffering from a prolonged virus. You are not suffering from nutrient deficiencies. You are not suffering from some sort of real health concern. As long as those are not lingering over your head, knowing how you got POTS syndrome, the cause of your POTS, the thing that actually got it, you got it for, is not important because all treatment seems to be the same. Now, that's not to say if you have long COVID or something like that and you're having POTS, but you're still testing positive for COVID and COVID symptoms, things of that nature, okay, that's totally different. That's not addressing just POTS syndrome. Now you have to address long COVID. Now you have to, if your white blood cell count is high or whatever, you're fighting off a virus. Duh, you should you need to fix the virus. You need to fix the illness that you have. You need to fix why you're chronically sick. Absolutely. I don't know how that's I don't know what is controversial about that. I don't know if there's any controversy surrounding that, or if my video or my opinion like sways you to think that I don't believe that. But obviously, if you're having hormonal disruption, if you're or dysfunction, if you're having gut dysbiosis and all this stuff, yes, take care of all that stuff. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about, have you been diagnosed with POTS? Do you have any other comorbidities? Do you have any other problems? If not, if you haven't been diagnosed with anything, your white blood cell count is good, you're otherwise healthy, you just have POTS syndrome, it's not going to be useful or helpful to know where it came from. It just won't. Like, it could be that you had because this seems to be a big problem for people with POTS, is they go through a really traumatic experience, like a really traumatic or tough, stressful, prolonged, stressful period of time in their life, and then they get POTS somehow. Well, okay, you could trace it back to that. You could trace it back to, it was the stress, it was all this stuff, but you can't fix that. You can't go back in time and fix that. You can try de-stressing now, but what if you're not stressed anymore? What if you're having a really great time in life? You're not dealing with a bunch of stress. You need to deal with the POTS and the symptoms of POTS. If everything else checks out, all mineral, your minerals are all good. You're not suffering from heavy metal toxicity. You're not suffering from, histamine intolerance. You're not suffering from deficiencies in vitamins and nutrients and stuff like that. You have POTS. Okay, you have to treat POTS. If you're suffering from, I'm going to keep, I know I'm just going in a circle, but it's because I just feel like some people just want to be contrarian for the sake of being contrarian and want to argue and want to fight. So I'm trying to be very clear. If you have other things going on besides POTS that could be the thing that set your POTS symptoms off, then yes, you need to deal with that. But that might mean that you don't have POTS. That might mean that the virus that you've been fighting for 2 years that won't go away, or the heavy metal toxicity that you didn't know that you had for years that hasn't gone away, that's giving you POTS-like symptoms. That doesn't mean that you have an autonomic dysfunction or an autonomic nervous system dysfunction. That means that you are suffering from POTS-like symptoms. I don't know what is so hard to grasp there. I don't get it. And so the thing that this guy said, the cause would absolutely be important to possibly prevent others from also going through this. Sure, but the chances is that you're not going to catch it. And let's say that somebody's cause was stress, right? Because that seems to be a lot. You just can't avoid that. There's some things in life that you just simply cannot avoid. Now, if we're talking about getting the COVID vaccine, and if that's the thing that sets somebody's POTS off, okay, great. With any vaccine, though, you're running risks of be them small or big. With any vaccine, with any illness that you might get, with any supplements that you take, you're always running risks. And just because it happened to one person doesn't mean it's going to happen to you. Just because it happened to her doesn't mean it's going to happen to him. So you're always running risks, and you're the person that needs to weigh the pros and cons of that. So figuring out, there's almost the one thing that I can say that I've heard from a lot of people that I work with POTS is that they did go through a traumatic experience or a very stressful period of time, and that's what triggered that. But again, that's a life thing that you can't necessarily avoid. Stress can trigger POTS, 100%. Trauma can trigger POTS. But what are you going to do? You're going to go through your entire life making sure that you avoid everything possible that could set off a stress response or things of that nature. I just categorically just do not agree, or fundamentally do not agree that is a way to live, or that you would ever be able to do such a thing, that you'd be able to completely just avoid all things that could possibly trigger POTS. I fundamentally disagree. And so the important part to me is you have POTS. We know how to work with people with POTS. It's pretty, the research is pretty clear. Lifestyle intervention, diet, hydration, sodium, potassium, in my opinion, is very important. And then working out. It's just, how do you do it? How do you structure the program? But I think that so many times what happens with people with POTS, for people with POTS, is they're always looking for the answer so that they don't have to take action. Because if I can find the answer, there might be a simpler solution. If I can find the answer, there might be a magic pill or something like that. Rather than, dude, you already know you have these symptoms. You already know you have POTS. You got tested. You have orthostatic dysfunctions, right? Like your blood pressure gets super low when you stand up. Your heart rate gets super high. You're deconditioned. That's probably a sign of. Just deal with it. Why don't you just do the things that make that better? That's my whole entire argument. That's my whole point. There is no point to going through the rabbit holes of trying to figure out why you have POTS. Isn't treatment for the most part all lifestyle focused? Haven't seen any medications or surgical treatments for the most part. There's some people will go on beta blockers and people will go on different types of medication to put symptoms at bay that they go through. But yeah, there's zero medications that can stimulate the nervous system basically that they've been using that will get rid of your symptoms. There are zero medications that do that as far as I'm aware of. I have patients. I have clients that take certain medications like beta blockers and stuff to just bring down some symptoms, but that doesn't cure POTS. There's no medications for POTS. There's off-label use that people use other medications for to put symptoms at bay. I would want to rule out ME CFS before going whole hog on the workout that is, if you think you have it. Before I say this, I'm going to just double check. Something. Okay. So here's the thing. I don't know if you guys know this about some of these diagnoses, right? I don't know if you know this about a lot. This is something that's kind of more, this is something that's kind of more new to me even that I just found out. ME, CFS, fibromyalgia. Those are basically doctors' ways of telling you that you have symptoms and there's no diagnosis. Do you guys know that? Did you know that? This is something that I just found out. I just found this out. There's no test for chronic fatigue. I don't think that there's a test for fibromyalgia. There are no specific laboratory or imaging tests for fibromyalgia. These are basically, there's a word for these tests. There's a word for these diagnoses. You know what? I'm going to ask my girlfriend. I'll read some of these chats while I'm waiting. Mestinon, flutocortisone, stimulants, midodrine, and ivermectin. Yeah, those are all medications for sure, but there's no specific medications for people with POTS because POTS is like something that you can't treat it as though you can't treat POTS medically like you can treat low or high blood pressure. You know, you can't treat POTS as the same way that you could treat. You guys, okay. I'm getting really frustrated at having to explain some stuff because I don't really know how to explain it with words that I have available. I need to read a dictionary because I don't know. Okay. POTS is an umbrella, right? It's an umbrella term for a bunch of symptoms. POTS is an umbrella term for a bunch of symptoms. Jazan, I'm not getting at you. I'm just in case anybody else is watching this. But I think people need to understand what POTS is, right? It's not a thing it's not like let's take COVID or the flu, for example. It's not something that you can go take a test directly for. And they'll be like, yes, you have POTS syndrome, the same way that they'll do a nose swab and they'll be like, you have flu, you have the flu, you have the or you have the, what is it called? I don't even pay attention to any of these viruses anymore after COVID. Sorry, I just burped. You have COVID. You have COVID Omicron or something like that, right? Like, they don't have a test for that until we can like tap the spinal fluid and like, find an enzyme in your spinal fluid or something like that. I'm making up a way to test POTS. Just bear with me. Until we can do some sort of test like that can be like, you have POTS syndrome. You know what I mean? Understand that POTS is just an umbrella term, and it's categorized by what symptomology does your body express. That's all POTS is. It's not something that people can just like be like directly, you have it because this. Even the tilt table test, the gold standard for testing people with POTS is not a good enough way for somebody to know if they have POTS. Because I know people that don't have POTS, right? Or haven't been diagnosed with POTS, and they would fail the tilt table test. If you're malnutritioned, you will fail the tilt table test. I have worked with, I think, 3 or 4 POTS people now that I've realized you don't have POTS. You are severely malnutritioned. And that would cause somebody to pass out. That would cause me to pass out. I'm 5'11". If I was like 30, 40 pounds lighter than I am now, which I'm 190, if I was like 150, 140, dude, I would probably be on the verge of passing out all the time. Let's see. Keep up with your message. Thank you, Betty. As far as I can find, there are no approved medications for POTS, right? Jazan, no. Yes, I know. Only to alleviate the symptoms, Betty. Jazan, yes, they alleviate symptoms. Some people get a good percentage of function back, though, like being able to work part-time. So I think it's good to try as you can. Also work out more and better. From Jazan, Betty, POTS is just a fancy name doctors gave this condition, which basically describes one symptom. Yeah, Betty's comment, that part. So it's like one of those things. There's this term. My girlfriend just texted to me. For those of you guys that don't know, my girlfriend is a physician's assistant. Okay, so she is one step above a nurse and she's one step below a doctor. She works in the hospital. So I get to learn a lot about medicine through working with her, and I get to pick her brain about stuff, right? And there's something called diagnosis of exclusion, okay? This is something that I just learned about, and I'm going to Google it so I don't get freaking fact-checked and all this stuff on when this goes up after of exclusion. Let's even just do fibromyalgia. What is diagnosis of exclusion? A diagnosis of exclusion or by exclusion is a diagnosis of a medical condition reached by a process of elimination, which may be necessary if presence cannot be established with complete confidence from history, examination, or testing. That means that if you go through a bunch of testing and they cannot find so basically what that means is if they cannot find any evidence to suggest that you have a specific illness or you have something specifically wrong with you, they give you another umbrella term. That's like how I would explain it to a child, right? They give you another umbrella term. So like POTS, right? It has all these symptoms, boom, 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 right? And the umbrella of POTS comes in. Okay, you have POTS. Okay, sweet. I don't feel crazy anymore. I'm looking at something else right now that says fibromyalgia by the Mayo Clinic Q&A. Is there a specific test to definitively diagnose fibromyalgia? If not, how do doctors confidently diagnose this disorder? Answer: no one test can be used to diagnose fibromyalgia. But unlike in the past, fibromyalgia is no longer a diagnosis of exclusion, which means that all other conditions that could trigger similar symptoms are ruled out before fibromyalgia can be diagnosed. Instead, the diagnosis is based on specific symptoms, and it's now understood that fibromyalgia can and often does coexist with other chronic pain disorders. So that actually seems retarded, what they just said. Fibromyalgia is a disorder characterized by pain all over the body. Fibromyalgia is pain widespread. This is basically just like virtue signaling. It seems like this is just virtue signaling, just giving somebody like, yes, you have something. Let's like so that you feel better. Okay, whatever. But basically what I was explained with fibromyalgia is that the symptoms are totally real to the person, right? And I'm not going to say that they're not. Like I'm not trying to dismiss anybody's symptoms or what they're going through at all. So I want to make that very clear too. But what I do want to make clear is that, again, almost like with POTS, fibromyalgia from via doctors in my girlfriend's hospital, fibromyalgia a lot of times is accompanied by mental health issues. And so it's not that they're not feeling pain, because they're probably feeling pain all the time. And I made this joke yesterday. Well, then I should be diagnosed with fibromyalgia because I'm always in pain. My neck always hurts. My elbow is inflamed. My knees are hurting. Like everything on my body always hurts. I should be diagnosed with fibromyalgia too. But the point is that so much of this stuff that we talk about with these chronic illness things, and like, could it be true that your body is like has severe inflammation? Could it be diet related? Could it be you're working out too much? Could it be your malnutrition? Could it be that you don't have enough of these vitamins? Boom, 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 boom. All these things. Yes, abso-freaking-lutely. But it can also be psychosomatic. It can also be that. The two are not mutually exclusive. It can all be true. ME, CFS, and fibro are diagnosis of exclusion, though you need PEM for the first and pain points for the second. What are diagnostic criteria for PEM? Diagnosis of protein, energy, malnutrition. PEM can be diagnosed by identifying the dietary history of the patient. The measurement of height and weight, fat distribution, anthropometric measurements of lean body mass should be examined. The body mass index, or BMI, is calculated to see the severity. What are diseases of PEM? Hypothermia, hypoglycemia, encephalopathy, diarrhea, heart failure, infection. I'm like losing my mind, because it's almost like, and I'm not saying this to sound any sort of way, but it's almost like I just like every assumption that I make, like, turns out to be true. Protein, energy, malnutrition is diagnosed. Okay, let's go to derm.net. Okay, you guys just tell me if I'm right. Is protein, energy, malnutrition basically like you're just malnutritioned? Like you don't have enough calories, you have not eaten enough food? Because that's basically what it seems like here. The treatment of protein energy malnutrition is complex and must be done carefully to avoid refeeding syndrome, which may result in death. The WHO has published a 3-stage approach: resuscitation, stabilization, nutritional rehabilitation, and recurrence prevention. Or am I reading the wrong thing? Am I reading the wrong thing? This almost seems like I'm reading the wrong thing. Dude, post exercise. Okay. Wow. I was reading the completely wrong thing. Post exercise exertional malice is what you guys are talking about. You're not talking about the other thing. You're not talking about the other thing. Okay. Okay. Wow. All right. My bad. That was super my bad, because we've talked about this a bunch of times on the channel. My brain is jumbled today. PM refers to a worsening of the illness after physical or cognitive exertion, which was previously tolerated. This can be a worsening of ME/CFS symptoms, the appearance of new symptoms, and a worsening of baseline. These characteristics are often delayed 24 to 72 hours or more after the triggering event. PM is considered to be the hallmark symptom and interferes with the ability to lead a normal life. While in most fatiguing diseases, patients experience symptom relief after exercise, the opposite is true for ME/CFS. Patients for whom even minimal exertion may cause PEM. When in PEM, people with ME/CFS have a lower capacity for exertion and baseline. Most importantly, PEM can be demonstrated by a 2-day cardiopulmonary exercise test procedure. On the second day, CPET, ME/CFS patients display a significant drop in VO2 max and maximal workload that is not seen in healthy controls or other diseases. Causes: PM can be caused by mental, cognitive, as well as physical exertion, and the symptom complex it invokes does not necessarily relate to the initial trigger. ME/CFS patients suffer from a post-exertional flu-like feeling with brain fog, photophobia, Okay, can I tell you guys something? Thank you, Anthony. These conditions are all listed on DSM-5. Does anybody else know what the DSM-5 is? I was literally just about to read something about this that would goes exactly with what Anthony just said. So Anthony, why don't you comment in there what you think that I'm probably going to say? And are they listed in the DSM-5? Sure looks like it. Oh my gosh, you guys. That's not what I'm going to say, unfortunately. What is a diagnosis of exclusion for chronic fatigue syndrome? By PubMed. This is a PubMed article. A diagnosis of CFS is a diagnosis of exclusion, meaning other medical conditions, including psychiatric disorders, must be ruled out first. This is an article on Medscape, September 6th of 2020. Okay. Jazan, how does somebody die from chronic fatigue syndrome? The National Institutes of Health reported that only 16 patients died as a result of ME or CFS in 2014. The low mortality rate of this the low mortality rate could be a result of this rate being based on ICD-10 code for post-viral fatigue syndrome. Okay. Dude, now I feel like I have to like read into this more. Caregivers infrequently attributing majority of caregivers believe that it should be implicated in the person's death. This is okay. No. Here no. Here's what we're gonna. Okay, I'm reading like everything on this live now, guys, because I want to like fully make sure that I'm giving like good, like at least decent perspective. This article on talking about how people died. CFS is a biological illness, not a psychological disorder. The exact pathogenesis is unknown. Numerous mechanisms and molecules have been implicated that lead to abnormalities of immune dysfunction, hormonal regulation, metabolism, and response to oxidative stress, to include impaired natural killer cell function or T cell function. Elevated stress to include impaired natural killer cell function. Okay, elevated cytokines and auto antibodies, rheumatic factor, anti-thyroid antibodies, anti-gliadin, anti-smooth infections have been suspected. However, no causal role has been established. Okay. CFS was originally termed myalgic encephalomyelitis. Noted a skeletal muscular component manifesting as chronic fatigue and encephalitic component manifesting as cognitive difficulties. However, this term is considered experts because there is a lack of encephalomyelitis in laboratory and imaging studies and myalgia disease. National Institute proposed that the condition be called systemic exertion intolerance due to better reflect the condition's hallmark defining symptom, post-exertional malaise. The cause of CFS is unknown, and there is no direct test to diagnose CFS. If the source of the fatigue can be explained, the patient probably does not have CFS. The diagnosis is one of exclusion that meets the clinical criteria below. According to the National Academy of Medicine, diagnosis of CFS-ME requires the presence of 3 following symptoms for more than 6 months, and the intensity of the symptoms should be moderate to severe for at least 50% of the time. Fatigue, a noticeable decrease or impairment in the ability of a patient to engage in activities that they enjoyed before the onset of illness, with this impairment continuing for more than 6 months and associated with new onset severe fatigue, unrelated to exertion and not relieved by rest. Post-exertional malaise, PEM. Patients experience worsening symptoms and function after exposure to physical or cognitive stressors that were previously well tolerated. Unrefreshing sleep. Patients feel that tired after a night's sleep. Criterion or fulfillment of diagnosis requires 3 of the symptoms above, along with 1 of the symptoms below. Cognitive impairment. Problems with the thought or executive function worsened by exertion, effort, or stress or time pressure. Orthostatic intolerance, worsening of symptoms upon assuming and maintaining an upright posture. Symptoms are improved, although not necessarily eliminated, by lying back down or elevating the feet. They get so weak their heart stops beating, or they die from a cold like old people. Anthony Michaels, what I mean, it's easier for a doctor to just say it's mental health instead of going down the long road of testing and investigating. When someone complains about CFS symptoms, they Okay, so even in this document that's talking about the deaths of CFS, don't point to CFS being the cause of death. Increase in suicide. A risk for that, 57.25%. An additional 23.2% of individuals died as a result of cardiovascular problems, but it seems that it comes from anemia, This finding is significant as anemia has been linked to an increased rate of kidney disease, congestive heart failure, and chronic obstructive pulmonary disorder. Another 17.9% of patients died as a result of cancer. Immune abnormalities and chronic manifestations of infections have been reported in CFS and ME. Additionally, viruses such as Epstein-Barr virus have been implicated. Yeah, you guys, I don't know. I don't know what to say. I don't want to come on here and be like the guy who's like, this is not all, like, I don't know. What I will say is this, okay? What I have noticed for anybody that has like these types of chronic illness, the types of that are like the diagnosis of exclusion, or the types like POTS and things of that nature, is this. It's always, and I've said this a million times on different lives. There's always, I've never once ever ran into a person that has one of these types of chronic illness that does not have some sort of mental illness diagnosis. I have never once, not one time. The majority of clients that I have worked with have all told me that they have dealt with anxieties and that they have, dealt with depression, OCD, things of that nature. Jazan, yes, please be careful. We get minimized by everyone, even friends and family. Please try to be a little sensitive. Yeah, and I'm trying to be sensitive, but I also think that like things need to be real, right? So like it's not that I can't acknowledge that people are going through. Dude, I did it. I went through all this, like I went through POTS myself. I'm not like sitting here on a high horse, but I think what's so interesting in this world of world of chronic illness, the ones where like people like that you can't get tested for, right? That everyone's like, nobody acknowledges what I'm feeling or whatever, and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, what's so interesting about this specific side is that there's always an accompaniment of mental illness. There's always that. And I know it sucks because with mental illness, especially, what happens is a lot of people get health anxiety. And this is something that I'm going to make an entire video about. But people get so crazed on health anxiety. And then they're like, I'm having all these symptoms. I've talked about it a million times with you guys about how just because you have like, I'm going to acknowledge that you're having heart palpitations, right? I'm going to acknowledge that. That can come from anxiety. And it can be that you have that symptom, but you also have anxiety. It can be that you have POTS symptoms, but you also have anxiety. It can be all those things together. And so one of the things that I had to do, here's where advice comes in. One of the things that I had to do if I wanted to get better, truly wanted to get better, was I had to acknowledge that some of what I was going through was self-induced, right? You guys, I'm going to keep it a buck. I'm going to keep it G with you. There's sometimes still now, and I try not to talk to you guys about this because I don't want to focus on this shit. Like, I don't care, but I try not to tell you guys this stuff because I want to be a positive light. There are still times, sometimes when I go, I think I need to go to the hospital. Like, I think I'm going to drive myself to the hospital. And then my girlfriend goes, no, you don't have to. And then I go, yeah, you're right. I don't. You're right. I don't have to. But I still have those times. And one of the things that I realized when I was trying to get myself better from POTS, when nobody knew what this shit was at all, nobody knew anything about it, was I had to admit to myself that I have health anxiety. I had to admit to myself that I had to admit to myself that my symptoms are worse when I'm in a place that I'm not comfortable with. When I would go up north or when I would go on a trip, that my symptoms seemingly get worse somehow. I had to admit that to myself, that somehow my symptoms were worse because I was 50 miles away from my house. There's no hospital to be seen, and I'm for sure going to have a heart attack. I had to admit to myself that that was part of the issue, that it was me. Like, my head wasn't on straight, and that it's still not on straight. Obviously, you guys have seen me sit here and scream at the freaking computer before. My head's not on straight, and it's part of what is so, I feel like it's part of what is interesting, or I don't know. It's a gift of mine that my head's not on straight, right? I believe that. But you guys, some of this stuff, hypochondriac, yeah, for sure. Health anxiety, hypochondria, health anxiety, hypochondria. But that's what every POTS person suffers from. That's why people go to the hospital every time they have a symptom of POTS and they've been diagnosed with POTS. That's why you guys are running to a new specialist every single time that you have this. Every single time that you have something new, or that you have something new, when it's probably not new. You probably had it before. You probably experienced it before. Is it because of your girlfriend's profession that she can reassure you with just a no, it's not, or does she tell you more? No. Hey, check this out. I had to get this under control before her. Before I met Heather, this was like, Heather and I have only been together for like 2.5 years ago, right? For 2.5 years ago. We've only been together for about 2.5 years. I got diagnosed with POTS 6 or 7 years ago, between 5 and 7 years ago, something like that. I was with another person when I got diagnosed with POTS, and then I was single for like 2 years, basically, right? So I got this under wraps long ago, before my girlfriend, and I had an extended period of time where I didn't have a single thought of going to a hospital or a doctor. Shit, I'm not even going to doctors now. I pay out of pocket for anything that I want to do. I don't go to doctors. I barely have health anxiety. What I'm telling you guys is that there is some times where I feel something, I'm like, oh shit, and I get anxious, and I'm like, okay, I need to go to the hospital. And then I'm like, my girlfriend, typically what will happen was I'll be like, yeah, I'm going to go to the hospital in like a half hour. Okay, I'm going to go to the hospital in 45 minutes. And then I like bring it up jokingly to my girlfriend where I'm like, I think I might go to the hospital because of, this thing happened or whatever. I can feel like I can't breathe. And then she's like, you don't need to go to the hospital. And I'm like, all right, cool. Yeah, I don't have to go to the hospital. There's no discussion after that. There's none. And this happens so far and few between now. But the thing is, you guys, that health anxiety is real. So I really, maybe this would be helpful that you guys know this about me. Maybe this is helpful that I still have symptoms. Usually they're self-induced, like I still have days where like I'm working out and trust me guys, my training routine is difficult, right? My training routine is very difficult. But I have days where like it's hot as shit outside. I've sweat out 700 gallons of water, and then I'm outside and I'm like kneeling on the ground between sets or something. I stand up and I'm like, oh shit, I'm going out. Oh, I'm about to go out. And I'm like, but I'm not going to go out. And if I do pass out, okay, oh well, like whatever, what's going to happen? I'm like, the worst thing that's going to happen is I'm going to hit my head and die from hitting my head, but like, you learn things like you get up slow, you do the yogic like stand up, right? Where you're like touching your toes and you come up vertebra by vertebra, that type of thing. It helps regulate blood, like your blood pressure, and helps bring your heart rate back down. All these different things, right? You learn breathing techniques. Like you guys, you will never get better. I'm telling you this, like personally, because I went through it, and I'm telling you because it's the way that I get my clients better. You will not get better. You will not go into remission if you cannot admit to yourself that 80% of this, I'm going out on a whim, I'm saying it, 80% of this has to do with this and your health anxiety. Your body is resilient. Your body can heal. Your body can recondition. This is what's going to F you over in the long run. This is what's going to F you over in the long term. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying that you're not having symptoms. I'm not saying that we shouldn't validate, F all that. I'm not saying that we shouldn't validate some of the stuff. Like say like, yeah, you do have these symptoms for sure. However, you've had all the tests. You've had all the tests. There's nothing life-threatening with you. You have POTS. Okay, now let's figure out the anxiety component to it because there is for certain anxiety and POTS. That's why I get so freaking upset by all these people that are like victim mindset, and they're such pussy. They're so pussy. And they're like, how did I get, it's like, dude, just stop with the doctor's appointments. Just stop with trying to find the root cause. Just stop with all the new nonsense, because you already know. You have all the answers you could ever ask for. I have POTS syndrome. Okay, orthostatic numbers. Like, I've seen that my blood pressure does this. I've seen that my heart rate does this. Okay, what do we do? What do we do? Jesus, dude. Wow. I think it's helpful to know what's normal to you so others can reassure themselves as well. Yeah, could be. Rodney Moore, I take adrenal gland supplement 100 milligrams every morning, plus Seeking Health electrolytes and Redmond salt. Absolutely amazing, a couple times a day. That's good, dude. Yeah. Are you taking the Seeking Health adrenal support? Dr. Ben Lynch is awesome. He's somebody that I'm trying to get on this live at some point. What did you tell yourself that helped reassure yourself at the start when you were most convinced of going to the hospital? Yeah, so I take a way different approach to probably any of you guys will ever take. That's just my personality. So check this out. I've told you guys all this story, and like there's a video out there of like if I die, I die. I'm gonna die trying. I'm gonna go out fighting, right? So what did I tell myself? I just told myself I'm not going to the hospital. I'm not doing any more doctor's appointments because I got a diagnosis, and anytime that I got like the urge or the impulse or the intrusive thought to go to the doctor or that something was wrong or whatever, I just told myself, okay, looks like you're going to die. You know, looks like you're going to die. All right. And then I didn't die. Whoa. Right? Like weird concept. It's like, you guys, so when it comes to your brain, right? People just expect that one day it's all going to flip. One day it's all just going to be fixed. One day it's going to not even going to be a thought. But it's like your brain, dude, like your thoughts, the way that you see yourself, it's all a muscle. It's all a skill. It's all something that you have to train, that you have to flex. Like, it's not going to fix itself. You ever heard that saying, no one's coming to save you? You ever heard that? Facts. It's facts. No one's coming to save you. You have to do it. You have to do the work. You have to be willing to put yourself in a position where you're scared and not give in. Do you know what they call that in OCD? Right? When it's like an intrusive thought, like exposure therapy, right? Let the thought linger. Let it be there. Let it be there. And then prove it wrong. Are there any exercises or movements you avoid? Zero at this point. No, I do everything. I walk on my hands for workouts. There's nothing that I avoid. My body has made the adaptations. It's resilient. It's capable. It's able. Remember, if you keep scaring yourself, you're going to continue in flight with your adrenals, so you need to take a raw adrenal if you're going to wear them out. Yeah. I'm not big on adrenal support supplements, I'll be honest. But hey, if it works for you. Does anyone get bad symptoms, flare-ups from taking nootropics or adaptogens? So, let's discuss adaptogens. I think that most people with POTS should probably avoid rhodiola, ashwagandha. Yeah, I think that most people with POTS should probably avoid those. Rhodiola is a excitatory type of supplement, right? And it's my opinion that a lot of people with POTS, from what I have noticed, the questionnaires that I send out, that they have probably some sort of COMT variant, which gets them excited, gets them anxious, gets them all this stuff. Rhodiola is not necessarily the greatest for that. I think that it's been a supplement that's been touted. Like it's in pre-workouts, guys. Like you should probably not be taking that. That's an adaptogen, isn't it? Is rhodiola an adaptogen? Let's just make sure. Yeah. I just wanted to make sure. I don't think that many people should be taking that. I don't think that a lot of people with POTS should be taking ashwagandha, because contrary to what normal people use it for, which is, chilling and testosterone, increasing testosterone or whatever, I find that people with POTS don't do well with ashwagandha. And there's actually a certain percentage of the population that has the opposite effect using ashwagandha. Me, this guy, I'm that part of the population. It will send me into a full-blown panic attack. Yeah, and I found that out the hard way. Now, nootropics to avoid, I think that probably it depends on what you consider a nootropic, I guess. What supplements as nootropics? So like there's stuff like you could take like alpha GPC or some sort of choline support, some sort of choline supplement. And is that gonna mess with you? It really depends on I guess the type of POTS that you have. I would say more so like your gene variations, depending on do you need choline support? If you need choline support, then it's probably a really good thing for you. If you don't need choline support, then probably not. You probably shouldn't take it, because too much of anything can really mess with you. I think that L-theanine, if you consider that a nootropic, I think that that's good for basically anyone. L-tyrosine, that's also an excitatory type of thing. So it works off the dopamine receptors, I'm pretty sure, or it's like a precursor to dopamine. Dopamine and POTS, maybe not like the most amazing thing, trying to increase it that much. Let's just make sure I'm getting everything right. Yes, L-tyrosine is used in the body to make catecholamines, dopamine, and neuroepinephrine. So I don't know if supplementing with L-tyrosine, especially if it converts to neuroepinephrine, if that's really a great thing. Yeah. Ashwagandha has definitely made my symptoms worse. Yeah, I'd figure that. I just talked to somebody else today about ashwagandha and recommended that they maybe not take it. Only nootropic I've seen benefits from is L-theanine. And that would make sense to me, because L-theanine, does it work off the GABA receptors in your brain and brings calming sensation down? How does L-theanine? Dude, it's been so long. I used to be really into yeah, research shows that L-theanine supplements can elevate your levels of GABA. I used to be really into nootropics and biohacking stuff. Let's see, how does so it does increase your GABA. L-theanine may affect the levels of certain chemicals in the brain. These include serotonin and dopamine, which influence mood, sleep, emotion, and cortisol, which helps the body deal with stress. Yeah, yep. I never knew that. Sugimoto, I only knew ashwagandha interacts very poorly with SSRIs. Yeah, ashwagandha doesn't do very well with SSRIs, because I believe that ashwagandha is also a serotonin no, it's not a serotonin reuptake inhibitor, but I think it acts in the same, I think it has basically the same mechanism, or it works off the same mechanisms. Let me just make sure. Ashwagandha, I'm pretty sure that it does increase serotonin. Yeah. Yeah, it helps increase serotonin. So that's why they'll say don't take ashwagandha with an SSRI because you could get serotonin syndrome. So I've never ever really been a fan of ashwagandha. I tried it once a very long time ago, very long, like 10 years ago, long time ago. And it did not sit well with me. I had a full blown panic attack. L-theanine has made caffeine super enjoyable again. Yeah, so that's a really good hack. If you're somebody with POTS that, well, man, should I hesitate saying this. However, I'll let you know. If you are somebody with POTS that you feel like you need a boost caffeine-wise, but you don't necessarily want the same effects that coffee would give you because it's kind of just here's the caffeine, take it, then either supplementing like 200 milligrams with a cup of coffee, 200 milligrams of L-theanine might be a good idea for you, or drinking green tea. Because green tea is where L-theanine is extracted from most times. I used to be really in this world, like the biohacking sphere and all that stuff. Yeah, I was really into it. I was very into nootropics. My favorite mushroom was cordyceps mushrooms. I don't recommend lion's mane for anybody with POTS. Lion's mane is another one that I think kind of just gets you a little bit like fired up, probably isn't good. I think that's some of I don't know if I covered this in that video of how I got POTS syndrome, but something that I think may have added to POTS syndrome, because I remember one of the hospital visits that I had made early on with POTS syndrome was that was a day that I had super dosed some supplements, some nootropic supplements. Like I think that I took a larger dose of, was it alpha GPC that I was supplementing with, or was it? I think I was supplementing alpha GPC. Yeah, I took alpha GPC. I took L-tyrosine. L-theanine was a supplement that I was taking at the time too. I think I had just recently done lion's mane that week. And it sucked. That sucked. Lion's mane was terrible for me. Lion's mane was absolutely terrible for me. I hated that. Wow, we've already done an hour and 13 minutes. That was easy. You guys, I also just want to let you know that if you are looking for one-on-one coaching, if you're looking for more support with your POTS syndrome, I only have 8 spots left for one-on-one coaching. So if you've ever thought about it, hit me up quick. JQFit, the number 1 at gmail.com. Also, I'm going to be coming out with POTS-related merch soon. And for all orders made, we're donating 10% of the proceeds to either, actually, Jazan told me what the thing was called. I think it's like Dysautonomia International or something. I don't know. It's a research institute, or I don't know if we should do that or if we should donate 10% of the proceeds every time to somebody's medical bills. I almost feel like that's a little bit more helpful. So yeah, just so you guys know. Any digestive issues with POTS? I've noticed I can't eat a large amount of fiber without getting super bloated and feeling lethargic. Hey, man. Yes, I think the majority of people that I have worked with have had issues with digestion and POTS. With like gut dysbiosis and all that stuff. That's usually one of the accompanying things for sure. If you are getting like stomach upset with vegetables, I would try an elimination diet for sure. I would try maybe more animal based. Many POTS people will tell you to eat smaller, complete meals throughout the day. I've tried it with 3 meals a day, but splitting them each in half. That's a good idea. Yep. I'm not a huge proponent for people with POTS eating like a lot of vegetables, to be totally honest with you. I have found that more times than not, vegetables do not sit well for people with POTS. And what I think is going on is we can go down the rabbit hole of mental health, dysautonomia, gut dysbiosis, and all that stuff, and different autoimmune diseases that people with POTS, may be dealing with or whatever. But I think that this is like systemically a health issue that has affected so many different, mechanisms in the person's body and in, their mental, emotional well-being, all this stuff. I think that doing an elimination diet for most people with POTS is one of the best things that you can do to offset a lot of the stuff that you're going through, the mental health issues, the gut issues, the everything. I personally think that it is, it's great. Granola Mama, haven't seen you in a chat yet. I use soul water to supplement my sodium, 3 teaspoons a day in my water. When I use it, I feel a lot better. Does anyone else use this? I've never even heard of it. Any advice on the elimination thing if you're constantly losing weight? Yeah, for sure. Eat more. If you're doing an elimination diet, I would say, so if you're going to do like, let's say you do go carnivore or like modified carnivore and it's fruit and meat and dairy, like raw dairy, then I would only ever do raw dairy and full fat dairy if you're lactose intolerant or something like that. Generally, people can get away with raw dairy or do goat's milk, but full fat, never skim or never fat free. And then try to have more carb dense fruits. So like things like mango, bananas are pretty good. Like they're decently, filled with carbs. What else? Avocado is good because it's high fat. Do fattier cuts of meat. So like chicken thighs, ribeye, 80, the fatty types of ground beef, brisket. That's what I just ate. Bacon. What constitutes raw dairy? Raw dairy is just dairy that has not gone through pasteurizing. So you'd have to get it from raw farm because most places in the States especially don't allow you to sell raw dairy unless you have certain licenses. And the reason why raw dairy typically doesn't mess with people who are lactose is because it has all the bacteria in it to help change the flora of your gut. What kind? Why not skim? Because it's less fat. So what skim milk is it's just them pasteurizing the milk even more, ripping the fat out of it, and then replacing it with sugar and water. That's crazy because I tried plant-based diet and literally felt the worst I've ever been because plant-based diets suck for the majority of population. The only reason to ever go on a plant-based diet, in my opinion, is moral and ethical reasons. And even then, I think it's really stupid. Also, people on any diet tend to eat too little. Healthy foods have less calories, so your plate likely needs to be fuller. Yep, for sure. Yeah, that's why I say fattier cuts of everything. Fattier cuts, raw cheese, raw milk, higher carb density fruits. So like mango is my favorite. And then I don't really know what else, because I stick to like kiwis are pretty low calorie. Grapes are good. Those are actually pretty high carb for how many you get. Gotcha. I'm in the Green Mountain State. Shouldn't be hard to find. Yeah. You gotta raw milk, raw dairy. I have to drive 45 minutes away to go get it because there's only like 2 or 3 raw dairy farms in my state that have licensing for me to get it. And then you have to get a membership to some thing, and you have to sign waivers saying that you are not going to sue them if you get sick or whatever. Raw milk has the best flavor ever. The best. Every day I put heavy cream in my coffee and raw, and like it's just so good. It's just like naturally sweet, I guess, and naturally just it tastes like ice cream, right? It's so fatty. And then raw milk, same thing. Did you smoke that brisket? No. I streamline everything that I do, right? So like I don't go to the grocery store for meat. I order it. I order every other week a delivery service called Just Meats, and we just pick out what meats we want. They send us all the meat, like 6 to 7 pounds of it, and then we also do a butcher box every month. So I try to streamline everything. I try to do everything really simply and get it all delivered, put it in my house. I'm done. Go to the grocery store for some things, but we try to do as little time at the grocery store as possible, or even out in general, because we work so much and we have kids. It's easier to just get everything delivered to us. Yeah. I'm going to do a podcast. I'm going to do a live, I think, on why if you ask a mainstream doctor, plant-based will fix everything and give you superpowers. The doctor's stupid. I think, like any diet that you do for the most part can be fine. It's just you have to be consistent, and you have in some cases you may need to supplement certain nutrients. Like with a plant-based diet, you probably have to supplement B vitamins. You probably have to supplement quite a few things to get everything that you need. I don't know. I would just rather, I prefer that people get all their nutrients straight up from food. And I don't know. I think diet is such a weird, touchy subject to talk about, because I think that anything should go, right? Like anything should be able to, I think you should be able to eat an Oreo if you want to eat an Oreo, I think what's so wrong with diet is just that some people, a lot of people are dealing with autoimmune issues. And so they need to fix, not a lot of people actually. There's the majority of people don't deal with any sort of health concerns like this, right? Or a lot of people are functioning at 70% of what maybe the whole population for the most part, baseline is now 70% of what humans are actually capable of. And we just accept certain things as normal now. That could be true too, right? Like that we don't function at the highest capacity anymore. And because everyone doesn't do that, we have a new normal. It's just normal to feel like shit, that type of thing. That could be the case. But I think that you should be able to eat Oreos and cake and ice cream and stuff, obviously highly in moderation. But it's you have to fix problems first, right? You have to be thriving first. And then if you want to every now and then eat whatever, then go ahead, But the reality is for most people, they just eat like dicks. They eat like assholes, you know? And so they'll never fix their issue. Mediterranean is pretty nice to some capacity. Yeah, can be. I think in terms of like pots, what should you be doing is really just figuring out like what foods trigger you. What foods can you and can you not tolerate? And that's not going to be defined by carnivore. That's not going to be defined by blue zone, Mediterranean. That's not going to be defined by keto, because everybody has different triggers for the most part. So I think figuring out what doesn't sit well with you is key. Plant-based is just hard to get protein without eating a huge amount of overall calories and high amounts of fiber with them. Yeah, 100% for sure. I mean, dude, it's like impossible to get enough protein from a plant-based diet, basically. You know, like, and I know that the plant-based people will be like, you don't need as much protein as you want to eat or whatever. And it's like, you don't need to be a douchebag, but you are, you know? And so I think like it's pretty clear. The evidence is pretty clear on how much protein the average person should get if you want to maintain muscle mass and if you want to gain muscle mass, which is something that I would very highly recommend for people with POTS, is to try to maximize muscle mass for sure and maintain it. About a gram per pound, 0.85 grams per pound. I think that comes out to like, what is it? Is it like 1.2 grams per kilogram or something like that? Jazan, I don't know. Yeah, but you should be getting about a pound per body weight, per pound, or a gram per pound of body weight. And doing that from like things like chickpeas and freaking soybeans and stuff, oh, dude, I wouldn't even want to try. Plus, imagine your farts. Oof, you'd never get a girlfriend, let alone a boyfriend, right? We dove into a lot today, guys. We dove into a lot of things. Dude, I am super ADHD, but I know I need to get on top of Food Journal if I'm going to find any success. Do you have any apps that you can recommend to make things a little bit easier? Link in description. Link in description. That one. Otherwise, MyFitnessPal. There seems to be a sweet spot with carbs and fats for me, but my protein intake has always stayed the same, 1 gram per pound of body weight. It's good. Yeah. I find that, yeah, I mean, it kind of depends on what season of life you're in, right? Like for me, there's definitely a sweet spot of fats and carbs. And right now, I need more carbs. Generally, my body really, really enjoys high fat. Like I feel the most energetic. I feel like low inflammation in my body. Generally, I feel best on that. I think that everybody has like a certain composition of diet that they need to like, function at their highest level. ADHD here too. I liked registering recipe, so I only have to weigh how much of it I eat. Also, a few random days is better than no days. Yeah, it's facts. That's true. I think the best diet that you can do, or like the best way of eating, is the way that like is the most consistent to you, right? Like I don't really weigh much anymore. I'll weigh my lunch most days, which is just so I can make sure I'm getting close to enough calories in a day. So I weigh my rice and I weigh whatever meat that I'm eating in that meal, and then I weigh or no, I don't weigh anything else. I throw like a slice of cheese on there. Just so I can make sure that I'm getting enough protein. Other than that, for dinner, I might weigh my protein if I'm not eating a steak. Like I might weigh some ground beef, and then whatever carb source I have, I'm basically not weighing. I think the best way to, for longevity, is to find out what actually suits you, nutrition wise. Like, what can I do long term? What kind of foods can I eat that I don't have to weigh everything for the rest of my life? And what kind of foods can I eat that I enjoy and that I won't get sick of? That type of thing. And then when you're flourishing, when you're like really thriving, being able to find foods. You guys, I don't know where my GoPro tripod is. And I need it to go film part of this video. Being able to find foods that aren't going to trigger you and that you can just like eat, without thinking about. So I do that. We have dried mango in the house, and I usually just grab a couple handfuls or something post training. I might have a protein shake if I do it. Like I just bought a protein powder, for in case I ever need a protein shake. And then, yeah, I eat the same thing every single day for the most part. On the weekend, I'll have like a free meal, maybe 2 free meals. I also like knowing how much a fist size is in food and a thumb size and stuff like that. That omits weighing as well. Yeah, 1000%. I agree. I just don't think that anybody should feel like they have to weigh their food for the rest of their life. I think weighing your food is a really good tool, like the personal trainer and me talking now, right? Weighing your food is a very good tool to get accustomed to what does a serving size actually look like of food. But doing it long term almost never serves a good purpose. It can cause a lot of that same like health anxiety type thing, right? Where it's like people have like now food anxiety, and that causes like eating disorders, stuff like that. I was in the bodybuilding world for a long time, powerlifting and stuff like that. I've seen so much of this go bad that I'm not a huge fan of it. If you can do it for like at least like 3 months and then get away from it because now you know what a actual serving size looks like, I think that that's perfect. And then you're done. But guys, anyways, that's going to be it for today. We've done an hour and 37 minutes. I got to go do my run. I'm going to go do my run and get on with the day. I'm going to edit a video and post, but I want to thank you guys for being on here with me again. Hey, on July 16th, I'm having Dr. Tyler Pansner on. He's a genetic scientist. He's trained in pharmacology. He's a PhD. All this stuff. He's going to come on this channel and talk to you guys about supplementation, gene types, gene mutations, things of that nature, and how to like optimize your health through knowing your genetic code. So I think it'll be very, very, very beneficial for you guys. He's going to talk about POTS too. He knows some stuff about that. He's going to talk about histamine intolerance, all that stuff. So yeah, it's going to be a good live. I want you guys there. If you haven't already, sign up for our POTS community, link in description. $50 a month, you get 1 free week. You get a bunch of resources on how to deal with POTS, how to deal with symptoms, how to, increase your heat intolerance, how to, supplement for hydration. You get a workout program, all that. I am accepting 8 more one-on-one POTS clients, and then I'm done. We'll be releasing some merch soon, which will be cool. It's not going to be like merch for Justin. You know what I mean? It's going to be some sort of like cool POTS thing. So yeah, be on the lookout for that. 10% of the proceeds is going to go to either Dysautonomia International. Thanks, Jazan, for that information. Or somebody who orders. I'm going to do a random pick of somebody who orders and then send 10% of the proceeds to that person to help pay for their medical bills. Actually, probably won't send it to them. We'll probably ask for an address for the doctor's office, or maybe they want to work with an alternative doc, and then we'll make the payment for them. So still deciding what we're going to do with that, but we're going to do one of those two. So hopefully you guys did enjoy. Hopefully you found some value here, some benefit. Hope that you guys show up July 16th. Come with all your questions. Like this video if you haven't already. Subscribe if you are new. We are at like 1,026 subscribers. I can't even I don't know. It's awesome. So anyway, thanks so much for watching. We'll talk to you guys in the next one tomorrow. Peace out. Goodbye.